Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Durag D. Thanks for joining me again on Dudes in Love with Football, the DILF podcast. You know what time it is. If you are an NFL fan, man, this is the perfect time to get into it. And this is the place for you. So go ahead, like, subscribe, follow all that good stuff so you never miss a podcast, man. It's everything NFL here. You saw the title, man. Let's not waste any more of your time. We're going to get into our hot takes for this year, you know what I'm saying, man? I'm talking about piping hot stuff that I haven't heard anybody say so far. So let me get you guys on the loop. So my first hot take of this year, we're literally gonna start at the bottom, okay? The bottom of the barrel, right? I got the Saints going 0-17. Now hear me out, man. When I look at this Saints team, man, they are just. I know I've said that the NFL has more talent than it ever has, and that's true for about 31 teams. Now this Saints team, man, got a couple standout players. You know, I understand that their defense could be solid. Although they did lose Tyrann Mathieu, you know, he had a great career. You know, wishing him nothing but the best in retirement. He was a locker room leader. He was a great presence. He was a great secondary player for them. So that's going to be a big blow. They also lost Will Harrison in free agency to the Commanders. And they still do have Demario Davis, who's one of the better linebackers in the NFL, no doubt about it. And they do have Cam Jordan, who, although he's getting up there, he still can make a difference coming off the edge and wreaking havoc. But outside of that, you know, Kool-Aid McKinstry, he really struggled as a rookie. And I know a lot of corners struggle as rookies when they come in, but you know, when I see his rookie season, you know, it doesn't really strike me as a guy who's going to take that next step and become a shutdown corner. Now, when I look at the offensive side, man, this is where I really struggle to see what we're going to be doing. Now, they brought in Kellen Moore, who should be more of an offensive-minded coach coming from the Eagles system. But I struggle to see where they're going to run the ball because Alvin Kamara, he can be a dynamic weapon, no doubt about it. But when I think of Alvin Kamara, I'm thinking more of a pass catcher. I'm thinking more of a guy that you get the ball in space, and a guy that he's not really a guy that you can just give the ball between the tackles and he's going to make a difference for you. So I struggle to see where they're going to get a lot of rushing production now. They did draft a rookie, Kendre Miller, who I do like out of Kansas. 6th-round rookie, but don't let that 6th-round tag fool you because this was a very deep running back class, and I do think he's got a lot of talent, but they got question marks all over the offensive line. They did take Kelvin Banks in the 1st round. I did like that pick a lot. You know, they could have went Shadur Sanders. They could have went other routes, but, you know, they did boast the offensive line. I do like that, but, you know, not much to speak of at the tight end position. You know, that's the safety blanket for the quarterback. And speaking of quarterback, who's playing that? You know, they got Spencer Rattler and they got Tyler Shuck. So, I mean, it's really, really tough when I look at this roster. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Chris Olave. He's very talented. He's one of the better route runners in the league. Excellent at the catch point, can make plays with the ball in his hands. But it just goes back to who's going to be playing quarterback. And when I think of Kellen Moore, I think of Cowboy system. I'm thinking the Eagle system that he just came from. Those were predominantly running systems. So, I mean, are they going to be handing it off 25 times a game? I don't know. And when I think about the fact that they could be down a lot, they might be forced to pass. I just don't see their quarterbacks being able to hold up. Now, I do know 0-17 is asking a lot, but I see a lot of their over-unders on sites. I'm seeing 4.5, 5.5. I'll say this. If they don't go 0-17, 100%, I'll put the Durag D stamp on it right here, right now. They're not winning 6 games. They were not winning 5 games. They're more than likely going to get the number 1 overall pick in the draft unless they just come out and shock the world, honestly. I don't know who else has them being 0-17 or getting the number 1 overall pick, but I really struggle to see. And then you look at their division's only getting better. You know, the Panthers look like they're taking a step in the right direction. Bryce Young looked nice to end the year. They brought in Ted McMillan to be their number 1 receiver for the future, hopefully. Although their defense was god-awful, especially against the run. Like, their rush defense was by far the worst in the NFL. And I don't really know what they did to bolster that, to be quite honest with you. They gave J.C. Horn a bunch of money, but it's not like he stopped the run or anything like that. So I do know Derek Brown can be a monster inside. Frankie Louvu was obviously a huge loss for them and one of the reasons they couldn't stop the run last year. But I do think offensively, at least, they're going to take some steps. Dave Canales going into the 2nd year there. And then you look at teams like the Falcons. Michael Penix showed a lot of promise at the end of the year. He and Drake London had big games down the stretch. One was against my Washington Commanders, and I watched that firsthand. What they did in that fourth quarter was pretty magical. So they got Bijan Robinson's a top 5 back in the league, probably top 3. I think he might have one of the best years of any running back this year coming up. I can see 2,000 plus scrimmage yards. I can see 15 plus touchdowns. He's going to be a workhorse for sure. They're raving about Kyle Pitts. Now, Kyle Pitts, man, we'll see with Kyle Pitts because every year we get excuses and it's the coaching and Matt Ryan was old and injury. So we'll see with Kyle Pitts. I know the dude's got a lot of talent. I mean, if you just look at pure talent in the league, if he's healthy, it's hard for me to believe that there's 4 tight ends more talented, especially receiving wise. Now, blocking, I don't know about all that, but just pure creating mismatches with his speed, with his size. I find it hard to believe that there's anybody outside of George Kittle and Brock Bowers that would be better than that, to be quite honest with you. Now, we'll see how the offense develops and everything like that. And the defense, they really couldn't rush the passer last year. They did draft 2 pass rushers in the first round. So we'll see how that defense comes along. And then you look at even the Buccaneers, obviously, who won the division last year. Baker Mayfield threw over 40 touchdowns. He took a huge step last year. And then they go get him another weapon. Emeka Egbuka, first-round pick out of Ohio State, who's one of the best receiver prospects in this draft, who's probably going to take that offense to another level. Bucky Irving, a surprise last year. They went from 1,300 yards rushing, one of the worst in the NFL with Rashad White as their RB1, to with Bucky Irving literally doubling that to 2,600 yards. So their offense is definitely potent. They had a lot of injuries on defense last year, and my Commanders did it to them in heartbreaking fashion last year in the playoffs. So that was a beauty to watch. But the Buccaneers are no joke. Don't get it twisted. As long as I want to say as long as Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are healthy, but you look at they even got great depth with Jalen McMillan and going into his second year, who should take a step ahead, who showed flashes last year, and then you got Emeka Egbuka, as I spoke of, Cade Otton. I think he's better than what people give him credit for. He literally never comes off the field. Is the thing. He's like on the field 98% of the time. So he's very reliable at the very least. So it's gonna be tough for the Saints, man. It's gonna be tough. Now moving on to the number 2. Speaking of those Buccaneers, I don't got Mike Evans going for 1,000 yards. I know he's done it every single year of his career, man. 11 years up, 11 years down. It's been 1,000 yards, and he'll be a future Hall of Famer. No doubt about it in my mind. Just the consistency has been unreal, but I truly believe that consistency comes to an end this year. Like I said, they drafted first-round pick Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, who 100% deserved to be a first-round pick. He's a great prospect. He's a great talent. And I just don't see how you don't get the young buck the ball. You get the ball in his hand, and you see what he can do. Now, obviously, Mike Evans is getting up there. He's over 30 years old. I think he's 32, I believe. And that's usually the age where these guys start to break down. He's had some soft tissue injuries, those hammies. Those are a lingering issue. So if you see Mike Evans hamstring week 2, don't be surprised, and don't be surprised if week 11 is still lingering and he's questionable every single week going into the game. And then not that we saw a decline from his game per se, but there's only so many mouths you can feed, and can Baker Mayfield duplicate what he did? Like I said, they literally double their rushing yards from 1,300 to 2,600. So they strike me as a team that also wants to run the football, that doesn't want Baker Mayfield to have to throw for 40 plus touchdowns again. He also was high in interceptions. So I think they want to take the ball out of his hands, which is kind of ironic. They draft a receiver in the first round, but I think they want to take the ball out of his hands. But I mean, it's just going to be so many miles to feed. Now, Chris Godwin may not start the season, so they might give Mike Evans more of an opportunity. But even if Chris Godwin can't play for the first 4 weeks of the season, they still got Jalen McMillan, and they still got Emeka Egbuka, who are worthy enough to get targets and take that production away from Mike Evans, to where I just don't see a 12th straight season. But man, if he can do it, that would be mad impressive. Absolutely mad impressive. Now, moving on into number 3, there's been one team in the history of the NFL that has gone to 4 straight Super Bowls. And there's been one team in NFL history to lose 4 straight Super Bowls. Now, we all know that's the Buffalo Bills. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do it, man. I truly believe They're going to go to a Super Bowl for the fourth straight season. Now, I'm not saying that's what I want to see. Now, I'm not saying I want to see Chiefs, Eagles, or I want to see Chiefs, Taylor Swift. No, I'm over it, honestly. And I used to live in Kansas City, and even I'm over it, bro. Like, I'm ready to see Lamar or Joe Burrow again, or CJ Stroud, Josh Allen. I'm ready for it just as much as everybody else, bro. But it's just hard for me to believe that somebody's going to do it this year. I feel like last year was everybody's best chance of at least the last, since the Chiefs have been going to the Super Bowl, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. The Chiefs had no running game whatsoever. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco broke his leg early in the season, came back and looked nothing like himself. They had Kareem Hunt, who was averaging 3 yards a carry. He was doing absolutely nothing. Carson Steele was a one-game wonder. He was a waiver wire, whoop-de-woo, came and went, and then was absolutely nothing. They had Rashee Rice go down, what was it, week 3, week 4, done for the season. He was leading them in targets, leading them in production. And they would have needed him down the stretch because, as we saw, Travis Kelce started to fade as the season went on, and they would have needed a guy like Rashee Rice to help carry that offense over the top. But it doesn't matter when you have that guy. When you have Patrick Mahomes, anything is possible. And a top defense, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit up here and act like this is trash defense or anything like that. We'll get to defense in just a second. But Patrick Mahomes is the straw that stirs the drink. Obviously, he is the number one player in the NFL. He's the best quarterback since 2000, outside of Brady. At this point, if we're going from the turn of the century to present day, it's hard to say anybody's been better than Mahomes outside of Brady. Especially, you could say Peyton, but when I think of how quickly Mahomes gotten his success, it's been a joy to watch. It's been crazy, but I mean, he's just on an unprecedented run right now. He literally looks like LeBron. When LeBron was in the Eastern Conference, he was going to 8 straight finals, and people were just making up excuses why he won't do it this year. Oh, he's a 4 seed. He doesn't have home court advantage. Oh, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have home court advantage. They're going to have to go on the road to Buffalo. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, the offense isn't the same. Oh, the defense is terrible. It's ranked 31st. Goes to the AFC Championship game. Now, that year they did lose to Brady when he had the 31st ranked defense in the league, but ever since they've had even a solid defense, he's been going to the bowl every year, and especially since Brady went to the NFC and then retired, because Brady was the only guy that was beating him at first, and then Burrow lucked up one time. Apparently, is what it looked like, and I'm the biggest Burrow guy, but I mean, it looks like a fluke at this point because, I mean, nobody else can do it, and Burrow hasn't been able to do it since then. They were calling it Burrowhead for a little second, but man, it just looks like nobody can mess with Mahomes right now, and he's just in a league of his own. It's a joy to watch. He's gonna be one of those guys that everyone hates in the moment, but as soon as they retire, just like Brady, people will start to appreciate and respect his excellence and his accomplishments and what he really did. Like, I don't think people are understanding what we're witnessing right now. This man just went to 3 straight Super Bowls with, I don't want to say 3 different iterations of the roster, but he was going with the worst defense in the league and the best offense around him when he had Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Pacheco was running wild. Kareem Hunt was leading the league in rushing. And they had the worst defense in the league, and he was putting up crazy numbers, and they made it to the AFC Championship game. And then he got a defense, and the offense took a slight step back. They didn't let him throw gung-ho because people were playing cover 2, and now he had to check it down more often. He made better decisions. He shifted himself as a quarterback. And that's the true definition of a winner, of a leader, of an excellent player is adaptation. The league changed for him, and he changed for the league right back and said, when you zig, I'm a zag, and I'm going to still find a way to win. And it's just a true testament to his greatness. It truly is. So I got the Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl. I just honestly don't think anybody in the AFC is messed with right now. You are what you are until you aren't. Right now, he's the best in the world, and everyone in the AFC is just a step below him. You can talk pure talent, Josh Allen, all you want. I'll take the guy who's 4-0 in the playoff. We're moving into number 4. I got my guy, Garrett Wilson finishing top 5 in receiving yards this year. Now, I've seen his props on a lot of betting sites. It's not even 1,000 yards. So, according to what I'm saying, man, you can go make a lot of money on these sites. But I mean, it's just crazy to me that a guy as talented as Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson truly is a top 10 receiver in the league. He's one of the best separators, one of the best route runners. We see he makes crazy catches. I mean, and he garners targets unlike any other receiver in NFL history through their first 3 years. No wide receiver in NFL history has more targets through their first 3 years than Garrett Wilson. That is a fact. And that tells me you're good, because when you're a receiver, the way you earn targets is by being talented, by being good, because you have to get open. As a running back, I hate to break it to you guys, but you're given opportunity. Receivers have to earn their opportunities. We have to get a play called for us. Then we have, well, I don't want to say we, because I don't play anymore, but receivers have to get plays called for them, and then they have to actually get open and then garner the target and then catch it. Running backs just do this, and it's right there. You know what I mean? So when I look at a guy like Garrett Wilson, I look at an elite talent. I look at a guy that's played with the bottom of the crustacean barrel of quarterbacks. No disrespect, but I'm looking at Tim Boyles. I'm looking at Mike White. I'm looking at Zach Wilsons of the world. I'm looking at an old, crusty Aaron Rodgers, who actually threw 28 touchdowns and like 11 receptions and wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. But he just, and I'm not even saying that Justin Fields is some crazy, upgrade over those guys. He's better than those guys outside of Aaron Rodgers, obviously, as a passer. But I do think that this offense will be slightly better than what people think. I think Justin Fields is a better passer than people think. I'm a Justin Fields guy. I've always been a Justin Fields guy ever since he was in college. And I look at what Justin Fields was able to do with a guy like DJ Moore. And I saw DJ Moore have over 1,350 yards while only playing 12 games with Justin Fields. This guy played 5 games with a man named Tyson Bagent. No disrespect. And he was number 6 in the NFL in receiving yards that season. That number 6 was ahead of guys like Nico Collins, who had an absolute monster year, came out of nowhere with the rookie C.J. Stroud and went absolutely bananas. And that was ahead of a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who had over 1,300 yards and literally led the league in yards per target and yards per reception, because he wasn't getting a lot of targets, but when he was getting targets, he was making the absolute most of them. That's a guy like Brandon Ayuk. So when I look at a guy like DJ Moore, I look at a guy that isn't even as good as Garrett Wilson, but was able to produce big numbers with a guy like Justin Fields, because he is a one-read guy. If you're his first read and you're open, you're getting the ball. It's really that simple. Or he's taking off, or he's dumping it off to the running back. That's really the whole offense. So, I mean, when I look at a guy like Garrett Wilson, I look at a top 10 receiver. I look at a guy who's going to garner a bunch of targets. And I look at a guy that defenses are probably not going to respect Justin Fields. They're going to make him beat them by throwing the football. They're going to load up the box. They're going to try to stop Breece Hall. They're going to try to stop the zone read, because what is Justin Fields? He's a mobile quarterback, obviously. And he's a guy that struggles to throw the ball consistently. I'm not going to lie. But at the end of the day, somebody's got it. Like, what is he going to do? Throw for 500 yards? No. He's going to throw for at least 2,500, 3,000 yards. And I truly believe Garrett Wilson could have 1,500 of that. Like, I truly believe that, because who can anyone name another wide receiver on the Jets? Because I know they drafted Mason Taylor in the second round. They had Tyler Conklin. I don't even know if he's still there. I think they got Josh Reynolds. Like, I mean, they had Alan Lazard last year. I don't know if Alan Lazard still. Devontae Adams is obviously gone. Is it Malachi Corley? Like, come on, like, dude, come stop. Like, I don't even know who else is going to be catching passes. Like, is Breece Hall going to get 200 targets? No. So it's going to be the Garrett Wilson show. It's going to be the Breece Hall show. And I truly believe top 5 in the league. Like, top 5 in the league this year was 1,200 yards. I think Drake London was 4th with 1,270 or 1,240 something. So I 100% believe that Garrett Wilson can have 1,250 yards next year. I 100% believe that Garrett Wilson can have 1,300 yards next year. Now, maybe that's not top 5 next year, because a guy like Chase has 1,700. Maybe Tyreek has a bounce back season. Maybe A.J. Brown stays healthy and he goes crazy. Maybe Malik Neighbors takes a step forward. But I truly believe that Garrett Wilson can have 1,500 yards. There's no doubt about it in my mind. So that would be number 4 for me. Now moving into number 5. I'm sorry, Bears fan. You guys have never really. I'm a Washington fan, so I understand it too. Never really having a franchise quarterback like that. I mean, you got your potential guy. Ours looks more solidified at this point, but obviously, talking about Caleb Williams, man. Man, I'm sorry, bro. I got Caleb Williams failing again. Now, last year, I'm not gonna lie, people act like he had this terrible season, but he really didn't. He only had 6 interceptions. He he didn't turn the ball over at a crazy rate like a lot of rookie quarterbacks do that have a lot of pressure on them. Now, especially with that terrible of an offensive line. So he wasn't a turnover machine, but he did play a lot of hero ball, tried to break a lot of tackles. Like it was USC and he could just run around for 10 seconds and find a guy 40 yards down the field. No. This is the NFL. You got to live to play another down. If it's not there, just throw it at a guy's feet, throw it out of bounds. We don't need to see you taking any extra hits. Now, the reason I think it's going to fail is because I'm be honest with you, I think Ben Johnson is overrated. As I don't want to say as an offensive mind, because there's no doubt about it, he knows offense. He's an offensive genius. He can call plays. But there's a big difference between calling plays and being a head coach. Now, I do think there's a world where Caleb Williams has a really good year and the Bears still fail. Now, when I think of Ben Johnson, he reminds me of guys like Josh McDaniels. Now, I'm not saying he's as slimy. I'm not saying he's going to be pulling Spygate bull jive and try to be the Patriot way and think he's Belichick or anything like that. But he has been reported to be mad scientist-esque, a guy that wants to lock himself in his room and just only think about plays. But you can't do that as a head coach. Like, there's so much more that goes into being a head coach than calling plays and developing quarterbacks that most first 10-year head coaches fail when they get to their first stop, And it's usually their second go round where they start to see success because they learn from their mistakes. And when he got to Detroit, they were already good, So it's not like he really got it out the mud or anything like that. So Caleb Williams is obviously an awesome talent. He's one of the most talented quarterback prospects that we've seen in the last decade for sure. But I just believe there's probably going to be too many mouths to feed. They got DJ Moore, extremely talented. They got Roma Dunze, extremely talented, top 10 pick going into his second year. He should take a leap. They got rookie Colson Loveland, who's a really good tight end prospect. Even Cole Kmet's one of the best tight end twos, if you will, in the league. And then they drafted Luther Burden on top of that. So, I mean, man, they got potential out the wazoo. But does potential get win? Does potential I mean, I don't know. I truly don't know. And I'm not gonna lie, I was looking at the stats of last year's defenses, and I thought the Bears defense was great. It really wasn't. Like in terms of yards per game, passing and rushing, they were one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. They were middle of the pack against the pass. I don't know if that's because, the offense wasn't doing much. They're bottom 5 in scoring and low key one of the worst offenses in the league. And they were just giving up, a la the Buccaneers when they had Jameis Winston. And then, boom, they get Tom Brady, and they're one of the best defenses in the league. I don't know, but I just think this team could implode, especially with expectations. If people are really like, I've seen people say, hey, Caleb Williams, dark horse MVP, Caleb Williams, Pro Bowl, Caleb Williams, 35 touchdowns. That's slow roll. Slow roll, okay? Can we baby steps, okay? Baby steps. And I think people will start to call Caleb Williams a bust after this season, especially when you look at the guys taken after him that are in good situations as well. Obviously, Jaden Daniels went right after him, and he took his team on a historic run and had the greatest rookie season in the history of team sports in North America. And then you got Bo Nix, who quietly had one of the best rookie seasons that we've ever seen, 29 touchdowns, ranked second all time amongst rookies. And that's without throwing a single touchdown. in the first 3 games. 0 touchdowns in the first 3 games, and he's still second all time in touchdowns in a single season for rookies. Pretty insane. And who's he throwing to outside of Cortland Sutton? Not much. So I mean, Bo Nix showed a bunch of promise. Michael Penix was awesome down the stretch. Showed a great connection with guys like Drake London and Bijan and Pitts. So I mean, then you even get to JJ McCarthy might come out, and with his situation alone, he might look awesome because Kevin O'Connell is a great offensive mind. You got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenson in the long term. Aaron Jones, one of the most explosive, underrated running backs in the NFL. It's just Caleb Williams, and this is crazy. Like, if Caleb Williams ends up the 4th best quarterback in this draft class, it's no slouch. Because I haven't even talked about Drake May yet, who could be the 2nd best quarterback in this draft. He finally gets some help and shows some promise. So, I mean, if Caleb ends up the 4th best quarterback in this draft, that's no slight because this draft it could go down as historically great, especially at the quarterback position. Because we had Caleb Williams, we had Jaden Daniels, we had Drake May, we had Michael Penix, we had Bo Nix, and we had JJ McCarthy. All go in the top 12. Half of the top 12 were quarterbacks. So this could be a historic draft class, and there's no slight, and even being the 6th best guy. So if you find a way to be better than 2 of those guys, man, I'm not. I don't even think that's it's not bad. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think Caleb going 1 really hurts him because I think any combination of those guys can end up being better than him, and then bust talk start to come in, and so I just when I look at Ben Johnson, the combination of Ben Johnson never being a head coach, being mad scientist type, locking himself in his room, just wanting to write plays, and not being known for his defense, and the Bears being absolutely overrated on that side of the ball after I looked at the stats. Whew, man, I could definitely see them winning 5 games again. I wouldn't be shocked because their division is so stacked. They got the Lions twice, they got the Packers twice, and then they got the Vikings twice. So, man, it's going to be a tough sled for the Bears, man. I could easily see Caleb failing and bust talks creeping in. Now, let's move on into number 6, man. I'm going to say that the AFC North gets 0 playoff wins this year, and that someone in the AFC West, not named the Chiefs, does get a playoff win. And let me break that down for you. The AFC North. The Browns aren't making the playoffs. Let's just get that out the way. The Browns aren't making the playoffs. The Steelers could. The Steelers could not. It could go either way, but they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. I honestly don't see this being the season. The AFC is too stacked. Aaron Rodgers isn't a top 10 quarterback anymore. And, you know, their defense is solid, but outside of DK Metcalf, who's mid at best, been overrated probably for the last 5 years. Literally everything about this team screams mid to me. It screams 9-8. It screams Steelers everything. It screams we won't have a losing season, but we'll get the 22nd pick in the draft. We'll get the 20th pick, and we'll draft some mid QB prospect, or we'll draft some running back in the first round, or some okay prospect. No game changer, and we'll do it all over again next year. And we won't win another playoff game. So I just, honestly, the Steelers are like broccoli at this point. They're just so bland, so boring. There's no flair with them at all. No offensive fireworks. Like, I miss those Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, the 3 Bs, Big Ben days, man. Like, when this offense was high-flying, averaging over 30 points a game. But those days are long gone, man. These are not your grandpa Steelers anymore. So they're not making the playoffs. And if they do, actually, they could make the playoffs, like I said, but they're not winning the playoff game. Bengals defense is too bad. I love Joe Burrow more than anybody. I love Jamar Chase more than anybody. They won me a national championship as an LSU fan, and I will never forget that. But they alone last year proved they can't get a team to the playoffs, man. They already proved that. And they proved that while having a guy who's averaged 17 and a half sacks in the last 2 seasons, and Trey Hendrickson, who's holding out, and he just ended it and went to practice, but he's unhappy. They finally signed their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart. Now, they got T. Higgins, they got Jamar back, obviously, but they're paying a boatload of money to this offense, And Chase Brown's never been a workhorse for an entire season. Zach Moss was injured last year. They drafted Taj Brooks. So, I mean, they don't run the ball that much. They just put so much on the plate of Joe Burrow. He has to carry this team to win every single week. Any mistake, any turnover, any special teams blunder, a missed field goal, a fumble. This team is cooked, bro. Their margin for error is razor thin because they don't have a defense. Like it is that simple. It is that simple. I love the Bengals' skill positions more than anyone in the league. But if you don't have a defense, there's nothing you can do about it. Not in today's game, I'm sorry. The quarterbacks are too good, the offense is too good. If you can't stop anybody, there's nothing you can do. Now, the Ravens. The Ravens have won some playoff games recently, but I think this year, Lamar has been a notorious playoff. I don't want to say choker. I think that's too far, but he has been notorious for not performing his best in the playoff. And I don't think this year is going to be an exception. Derrick Henry's obviously awesome. He'll be a year older. I think Zay Flowers is overrated, honestly. Like he's nice, but like people start talking about him as like a fringe top 15 receiver, and I just can't get there. Like that sounds absolutely bonkers to me. Like I mean, I can't get there. I'm sorry. And what's crazy is Lamar is so good. 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and Zay Flowers is still just solid. You know, like I still feel like outside of Derrick Henry and Lamar, they don't have a dynamic weapon. A guy who you just have to account for at all times. Like and Lamar is a good enough passer at this point for him to have an AJ Brown or a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson or even a Devontae Adams when he was with the Packers. Like he can support that level of receiver at this point, I believe, with his passing ability. They just won't get it for him, or they don't believe in having that because they think that guy will start to demand targets and take away from their identity of running the football. I have no idea. But until they get more dynamic on the perimeter, this team's not winning anything. And I love Lamar as much as the next guy. I want to see him win more than anybody to validate that style of play because he has changed the game, no doubt about it. Every quarterback coming out now is at least mobile. There's no more statue Matthew Stafford. You know, those guys are gone. There's no more guys like that. Everyone can move a little bit. You know, these guys are running, you know, low 4.7, 4.6, 4.5s as quarterbacks now. And they have to be accounted for in the run game. Even guys like Joe Burrow, we've seen Joe Burrow take off for 40-yard touchdowns last year. So, like, even guys that you think aren't crazy athletic, they can get out and they can move now. So, like, Lamar's changed the game, and I want to see him win to validate that side of play. But it's just hard to believe that he will when he doesn't have anyone on the perimeter that third and 8, you can count that guy's going to separate. I just don't believe it. Now, their defense might be elite. They got Malachi Starks. They got Mike Green in the draft, who fell because of, you know, off the field issues and stuff like that. But talent-wise, he was a first-round pick, no doubt about it. So their defense, on top of already Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, I mean, their defense, outside of the Broncos, might be the best in the league for real next year. I mean, it's going to be spooky up there in Maryland for sure. I just don't see them winning a playoff game. I really don't. With all the things with Lamar's playoff regression that we always see, you know, they have had injuries over the past few years. Derrick Henry is going to be a year older. Like, can you really depend on him for an 18-game regular season and then another game in the playoffs? I don't know. We'll have to see. He's been an absolute super freak. So history would say yes, but, you know, you are what you are until you aren't, you know. So it'll be tough. It'll be tough for the Ravens, man. Now, moving on to the second part of that. Somebody in the AFC West, not named the Chiefs, will get a playoff win this year. And the reason is the complete opposite of the Bengals. Defense. Last year, the Chargers had the number 1 ranked scoring defense at 17.7 points allowed per game. And this year, they're bringing a lot of the same guys back. They let Joey Bosa walk, but I mean, he can't stay on the field anyway, so it really doesn't even matter. And you know, we all know their approach. They're going to run the football. They drafted Amari Hampton. They brought in Najee Harris. to run the football, and they're going to run the football. They're going to take care of the football. Justin Herbert only threw 3 interceptions last year. They're not going to ask him to do too much. And at the same time, their offense is getting more dynamic with guys like Amari Hampton, Ladd McConkey going into his second year. He should take a leap. He was one of the better receivers down the stretch last year. They drafted Trey Harris in the second round. So they're actually attempting to do what the Ravens aren't. And that's what make their offense more dynamic. Now, with an already elite defense and what we know Harbaugh wants to do, I see this team, as long as Justin Herbert doesn't throw 4 interceptions. Like, how many times is this dude going to do this to us? Just rip our hearts out. Everyone's screaming about this guy, top 5 talent, top 5 talent, top 5 talent. But when the lights are brightest, when it matters the most, this guy can't get it done. Now, if we can just shake that, it's all about matchups in the playoffs, honestly. Now, if they get a favorable matchup, because they're obviously, I'm not picking them to win the division. Let's get that straight out of the way. I'm not picking them to win the division. I'm not picking the Broncos to win the division. It's possible, but I'm not picking it. No. So there'll be a wild card. They'll have to go on the road, whether that's to Buffalo or one of them will probably have to go to the Ravens. One of them, I could easily see the Broncos going up to the Ravens and putting butts in their butt and pulling off an upset. The Chargers not so much. 100% I could see the Broncos going up to Baltimore and beating the Ravens with that elite defense that they have. So don't be surprised if either the Broncos or the Chargers win a playoff game next year, because the Chargers defense is elite, and so is the Broncos. And honestly, like, I wouldn't be shocked if Bo Nix was playing at that Justin Herbert level next year. Don't be shocked, man. 29 touchdowns, ranked second all time for rookies. And he, like I said, he didn't throw any in the first 3 games. So he easily could have had that record had he not gotten off to that horrific start. And that's obviously to be expected in first 3 games in the NFL. So, I mean, Bo Nix is going to be a dog, man. I truly believe in Bo Nix. And they brought in R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins to improve that run game, which was one of the worst in the NFL, despite having one of the better offensive lines as well. So, Courtland Sutton is one of the more consistently underrated receivers in the league. He's nothing. He's not elite. He's not great, but he's just solid. They do need more weapons on the perimeter. They brought in Evan Ingram. We'll see what he does for this offense. He's garnered a lot of targets while he was in Jacksonville. So we'll see what kind of weapon he can be. But don't be surprised if the Broncos or the Chargers win the playoff game. Now, moving on into number 7. Number 7 and number 8 go a little hand in hand. So every year, there's between 5 and 7 new playoff teams. Every year. These are going to be my 5 that I picked to make the playoffs this year that didn't make the playoffs last year. In the NFC, I got the Cowboys. I got the Cowboys making the playoffs, man. I love the addition of George Pickens. They've needed a wide receiver, too, ever since they let Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup go. And they've been trotting out guys like Jalen Tolbert, Brandon Cooks. They brought in T.Y. Hilton when he was old as dirt. No disrespect. They've really been experimenting with a lot of guys that really just haven't worked out. I mean, they traded a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo. Like that. That should tell you how desperate they are. They're out here trading 4th-round picks for Jonathan Mingo. So they were extremely desperate. They got him for a good price, man. And I thought he was overrated when he was with the Steelers as a number 1, but he might be just what the doctor ordered as a wide receiver number 2. Dak needs a guy who can stretch the field vertically. CeeDee Lamb is top 3D Lamb. He's a top 3 receiver in the NFL. I go back and forth with him and A.J. Brown, but Dak, I think, gets slept on. He's either a top 10 quarterback or he's number 11, no doubt about it. He's a top 11 quarterback in the league. Stop the hate. Stop the Dak slander. I hate the Cowboys just as much as everybody else. I'm a Commanders fan. I see them twice a year. I hate them too. Dak is a top 11 quarterback in the league. We got to stay facts. So we got the Cowboys because, you got to think about like schedules. Like when I think about this stuff, I'm thinking about who are you playing and what type of schedule they're going to get. They're going to get a 3rd place schedule. The Cowboys are much better than a 3rd place team. You know what I mean? And they're going to put BTA a lot more than people expect this year. I think they'll be healthier this year. Trevon Diggs will be another year off that ACL. him and Deron Bland could be one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL. Micah Parsons, if they can get this contract negotiation saga figured out, he can come back and wreak havoc. He could be a defensive player of the year candidate, no doubt about it. He's a difference maker. He's an X factor, and he's a guy that can change the outcome of games. To be quite honest with you, so Demarion Overshown was a huge blow. Him wrecking his knee last year. I wish him a speedy recovery. We'll see if he comes back, what time he comes back this year, if he can make a difference when he comes back. But that's definitely a huge blow. But I think overall, when you get Dak for hopefully 17 games, he stays healthy. That this team right here, if CD can stay healthy, we'll see off that shoulder injury he had last year. Pickens, like I said. Now, their Achilles heel is going to be their run game. I don't know who in the bleep is going to be their RB1. Is it going to be Miles Sanders? Is it going to be Javonte Williams? Because Javonte Williams was one of the worst running backs by efficiency in the NFL last year, behind one of the better offensive lines in the NFL and one of the more surprising offenses as well. So if it's Javonte Williams, man, if it's Miles Sanders, I'm out on the run game. And if you tell me Jadon Blue is going to come in and be a surprise and help carry this team as a rush offense, okay. Now that's my only reservation for this team is the run game, man. Like, I'm really scared about that. I really am. Plus Brian Schottenheimer in his first year, it'll be a new offense. We'll see. Those are my two reservations: the new coach and the running game. But I do think that they might be able to overcome it due to talent and schedule. They are in a tough division. Obviously, they've got to see the Eagles twice, got to see the Commanders twice. But I don't think they should be afraid of either of those teams. I think the Giants, who I do think are underrated, but you obviously shouldn't be afraid of the Giants. You should probably sweep them if you're a playoff team, right? So I got the Cowboys not sneaking in. I don't know if they'll win the division, but they'll probably be a wild card team. Now, the Falcons are a team that might win their division. I love Michael Penix, man. I love Michael Penix, and I love his connection with Drake London. Spoke about it already, man. I think they're going to win their division, arguably. I think it's between them and the Buccaneers. Obviously, the Saints are going over at 17, so they're obviously not going to win it. And I think the Panthers are maybe a year away from competing for the division. I think their defense is still god-awful because it was by far the worst in the league against the run last year, averaging over 180 rush yards per game allowed. They got a lot to do on that front seven to stop the run. So until they can fix that, I don't see them competing for the division, right? So it'll be a two-team race between the Falcons and the Buccaneers. And I honestly think Michael Penix can come close. And I think this Falcons offense can come close to what that Buccaneers offense did last year. Now, I don't believe that the Falcons are as deep at receiver as the Buccaneers are, but I do believe that they might be healthier because they're younger and they're more explosive. Because Mike Evans is plus 30, Chris Godwin is either 29 or 30 at this point. And although I love Emeka Egbuka and Jalen McMillan showed flashes last year, I love Drake London. Obviously, he's a stud, and Darnell Mooney is super underrated. Had almost 1,000 yards last year. And that's for Kirk Cousins, who absolutely wet the bed in his final few games with the Falcons. So, and Kyle Pitts, still one of the most talented tight ends in the league. So I truly believe that the Falcons will be in the thick of things as long as their defense can get to the quarterback and not let guys sit there all day and pick their defense apart. They'll be fine. Now, they lost Grady Jarrett. I do think that'll be a big blow up front, but they did draft 2 pass rushers, so hopefully those guys can make up production. And throughout the season, they might not be a team that on defense, I think they'll be a team that early in the season, their offense carries them, and then mid-season, their defense will start to pick it up, and their defense will start to get chemistry and stuff like that, and the rookies will develop the pass rushers, and then they'll eventually be a solid defense and match their offense almost in terms of how good they can be. So, got the Cowboys, got the Falcons in the NFC. Now, actually, let's go to the AFC real fast. I got the Patriots, man, and let me tell you why I got the Patriots. I got the Patriots because, like I said, it's about schedule and it's about improvement. Like the Commanders had a last place schedule, but they weren't really a last place team when you look at everything that they improved on. Like, they brought in a bunch of veteran players and drafted a young QB. and brought in a new head coach. And what does that sound like? The Patriots brought in a bunch of veterans, brought in a new head coach. They didn't draft a young QB, but he's obviously already on the roster, and Drake May. So when I look at their schedule, they get the NFC South, which, I mean, that's obviously the Panthers. That's a winnable game. You get the Saints, who are going 0-16, so you're already 1-0 here today in July, and then, or August when you're seeing this. And then you got the Buccaneers and the Falcons. Now, I think the Falcons will either win the division or make the playoffs, but I don't think like the Patriots beating them would be a shock or anything like that. But obviously somebody's got to win that game, so you know what I mean. But I mean, the Buccaneers is the only game where I'm like, I'm leaning like 65% toward the Buccaneers in that game. Like the Falcons, that's a 50-50 to me. I could see it going either way, and they're obviously beating the Saints. And the Panthers is at least a 50-50. If not, I would lean towards the Patriots in that matchup. So, and then they get the AFC North, which the Browns are boo-boo. So, I mean, that's obviously great. Then they get the Steelers. The Steelers, I mean, their offense could be good. It could be not. It's probably going to be mid, and in my opinion, it's going to be super mid. I don't see it being super explosive. Like I said, the Steelers could make the playoffs. They could not. I could see the Patriots beating the Steelers. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever. Same with the Bengals. They beat the Bengals last year. That was early in the season. This will be when they play the Bengals. It'll be, I think, in December or maybe November. So you'll get like a fully ramped up Bengals team. So I don't see the same outcome as last year. So be prepared for that. But then you got the Ravens, who they lost to the Raiders this year. So it's anyone can lose any given Sunday, obviously. And like I said, I don't think the Ravens win a playoff game this year. So maybe that comes from lack of regular season success. Maybe the Patriots beat them, and it's a bad luck omen for the rest of the season. I don't know. Then they got a gimme in Week 18. They play the Dolphins in Week 18, and we know the Dolphins cannot play in the cold. They'll go up there to New England, and they'll lose in Week 18. Book it. It's got the do-rag D stamp on it. So I got the Patriots to make the playoffs in the AFC. Now, the other team that I got making the playoffs in the AFC that didn't make it last year is going to be those Jacksonville Jaguars. And I actually got them winning the division. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, because I know a lot of people are picking the Texans. I don't believe in the Texans' offensive line. Therefore, I don't believe in the offense. Love Coleridge, Bernard, Stroud, the fourth. I was one of his biggest fans coming into the year. I 100% was. And I love Nico Collins. So he's one of the most underrated receivers coming into the year. But now he's asserted his dominance as a top 7 or so receiver in the league. And I don't believe in the offensive line. I think they're going to get CJ killed. And although I don't know about the Jags offensive line either, I love me some Travis Hunter, man. I love me some Travis Hunter. They're going to have a third place schedule, not a fourth place schedule, because the Titans were actually worse than them. Obviously, they got the number 1 overall pick. When I look at their schedule, they get the AFC West. Now that's going to be brutal. I'm not going to lie. That's going to be brutal. They're probably going to lose to the Chiefs. I could easily see them losing to the Broncos. I could easily see them losing to the Chargers. So that Raiders game is going to be interesting. That game could go either way. I give them a 50-50 shot at least of beating the Raiders. Then they get the NFC West. And now that one's interesting because I'm not a big believer in the NFC West. The Rams, I think, are a good team. I think the Rams are going to be a really good team this year. I think they'll be solid. I don't know if they'll win a playoff game. I don't know if they'll win the division. But they'll be a good team. They'll be a darn good team. Health will be their only, that health will be the determination of what happens with them. Devontae Adams, Puka, Kyron, and Matthew Stafford's health, along with can their defense keep up with what they did last year? Can they actually take a step? Because a lot of those guys are super young, especially in the front 7. And can their back end be solid again? And then you got 2 teams I just flat out don't believe in. I don't believe in the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, please, can we get something from you, bro? Like, I'm a huge fan. I think Kyler Murray is one of the most underrated athletes ever. We're talking about just straight athletes ever. Kyler Murray's got to be up there because this man was drafted top 10 in baseball and number 1 overall in football. That is something I don't think we'll ever see again. So as an athlete, that feat is unlike anything we'll ever see. But in terms of just being an NFL quarterback, he is the most up and down. I'll show you the highest of highs, and I'll show you the lowest of lows, man. Like, He's got so much potential and it's crazy. He's so talented. There's no reason he shouldn't be mentioned with guys like C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts. He should be in those talks, and he's just not because of the consistency. I really don't know what it is. He's had a lot of talent around him. He had a prime D Hop. He had Marquise Brown when he was really good. And now he's got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. He's had a solid running game. Cliff Kingsbury was an offensive mind. So, I mean, Kyler Murray is running out of excuses, man. And I just don't believe that he's a guy that's going to consistently take a team to the playoffs. And I don't think this is going to be a year for playoffs for them. And I don't believe in their defense either. And then we get to the Seahawks. Don't believe in Sam Darnold. I love JSN, but outside of that, I don't see any playmakers on this team. I do like Ken Walker, but can he stay healthy? He seems really talented, but at the same time, I just don't know. And defensive-minded head coaches, their offenses usually aren't very good unless you can find like an offensive guru as your OC, like a Ben Johnson or a Cliff Kingsbury, guys like that. And I just don't know if they have that on roster right now. I 100% believe that the Jags can beat the Cardinals. I believe they can beat the Seahawks. The Rams, I don't know about that one. And the other team, the Niners. Let's just go ahead and get into number 8. I got the Niners making a run, man. I think they might be the number 1 seed in the NFC. If they can stay healthy, and this is even with me knowing that Brandon Ayuk has no timetable to return, they could be the number 1 seed in the NFC easily. Like I just said, I don't believe in the Cardinals. I don't believe in the Seahawks. The Rams will be good, don't get me wrong. But the Rams are going to have a first-place schedule because they won their division last year. And the 49ers are not going to have a first-place schedule because they didn't win their division. Their schedule is redonkulously easy, man. Redonkulously easy. They play the NFC South. So they get the 0-17 Saints. So they're already 1-0. They're already 1-0. They get the Panthers. I would lean Niners healthy. Even with a banged-up Kittle, a banged-up CMC, the worst rushing defense by far last year, Carolina Panthers. And what do the Niners do? Rush the football. It doesn't even matter if it's Isaac Guerrero, Jordan Mason, or CMC. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is. They're going to run the football, and Carolina can't stop the run. They're going to beat Carolina. Then it all comes down to the Falcons and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers game, that'll probably be a really good game, actually. I'll be interested to watch that one. Falcons, I would probably lean healthy Niners right now, but, we'll see. We'll see. Then they play the AFC South, which might be the worst division in the NFL. They got the Texans who can't block, can't do anything. Like, honestly, couldn't guard a piggy bank with an AK. They can't guard C.J. Stroud. They're giving him no help up front whatsoever. They're treating him like Andrew Luck. Just get him a bunch of toys. Hey, we'll get you a Nico Collins and a Jaden Higgins and a Jalen Noel. We'll get you this one and a that one and a this and a Dalton Schultz, and we'll get you a Mixon and a... No, it's like the kid that's like, I want candy and Pop-Tarts and honey buns and sugar and sugar and sugar. No, you need substance. We need big, beefy, juicy steaks up front. We need big fellas. We need white picket fence stalwarts up front. You got turnstiles up there just olaying people, letting people get to C.J. Stroud up front, man. And he's going to get killed. That's why I can't pick the Texans to win the division. I just can't, man. I really can't. So they'll probably beat the Texans. The Niners will. And then the Titans are going to be a team that they should beat. Then the Jags are a team they should beat. The Colts are a team they should beat. And then, their 3 standalone games, they get the Giants, the Browns, and the Bears. Their schedule is made for 12 wins minimum. And this is the other thing. They get the Browns in November, and they get the Giants in November. So that could be the Giants on their 3rd quarterback. That could be the Browns on their 3rd quarterback. Like, we have no idea, bro. Like, it's going to be absolutely insane. I'm telling you, bro, a healthy Niners team will be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Do-rag D stamp it right now. Their schedule speaks it. The schedule makers absolutely bless the 49ers. So with that being said, man, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode of the DILF podcast, man. Dudes in love with football. It's been an absolute blessing, man. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And next time, we'll more than likely be talking about our top 10 underrated players. You do not want to miss that one, man. That one's going to be an absolute banger, I'm telling you right now, man. The guys we talked about, guys you probably don't even think about, man. I'm telling you. Or maybe you think they're good, but, man, I'm telling you, they're better than good, man. They're underrated for sure, man. Guys that people just aren't talking about like they need to. So, man, don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss that in every other episode that we drop here. And once again, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.